Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Moving Markets Podcast. It is Tuesday, July the 14th, 2026. In about 5 seconds now, you're going to hear the opening bell of the stock market. Futures a little bit mixed, but really only because of one company. Just in case you haven't been watching specifically, I'll explain that in just a second here. Let's switch screens and go to our I like the CNBC website. You all know that. Dow futures were down a little bit. Futures for the S&P and the NASDAQ were both up, and it's still showing pre-market right there. Here's the, might take a minute for the actual open to be reflected here. A lot of good things going on, though, this morning. Good inflation report. In fact, a really good inflation report, something that's giving a lot of people a little bit of a sigh of relief. Good news on chip manufacturers that we saw sell off yesterday. They're up today. AMD up $32 a share right now. I anticipate we are all going to be out of our AMD trade very soon if you're not already out. Mine is looking absolutely phenomenal right now, so I expect to be closing my AMD trade any second. In fact, I've got limit orders in place that I'm a little bit surprised they're not already filling. Like I said, Micron having a great day to the upside. JP Morgan down and down below the strike price of our short put. But it takes sometimes a little while for the option prices to adjust accordingly. I show we're a little bit negative in the trade, even though it's trading at a level where if it finishes there or below, we are guaranteed our maximum possible profit. It's faltering a little bit. What I mean by that is it's not going down quite as far as I was kind of hopeful for. The tricky thing on this JPM trade right now, this JP Morgan trade, and they're back above 330 right now, is that everything pre-market suggested that they were going to go to the downside. I have not read the details of their report yet. Says that they beat here on top and bottom line. Let's see if we can figure out why they were selling off. Oh, that's a video. Sorry, that's not what I want. I'll have to look into it a little bit after this presentation. Some of you might know if you looked at that and saw it in detail. I didn't have a chance to do that yet. Send me a quick instant message and let me know. But they're only down a few dollars a share right now. They still have all day today, all day tomorrow, all day Thursday, and all day Friday to drop down below 330, or don't be surprised. I'm almost seeing this right now. Don't be surprised if they actually turn positive. If they did in fact beat on top and bottom number, the initial sell-off could just be honestly a few individuals that are looking and saying, well, we don't like some of what they reported, and therefore we're selling off a little. They could be right up here to 340 or above before the day is over. Don't be shocked if that happens. I'm kind of holding my breath and not being overly certain that it's going to go one way or the other. But the good news is we've got, including today, we literally have 4 full trading days for JP Morgan to kind of pick a direction and move somewhere. Lockheed Martin is down a little bit. I'm going to roll that trade out a week. The little bit of a trick of rolling it out a week is that Lockheed Martin reports their earnings next week on Thursday. And if we roll the trade out a week, then we're rolling it out to Friday. We'd have to be out of the trade before earnings, or do something like we're doing with Google and adding a bear put side to it so that going into earnings, we're non-directional. I would so much prefer to just be out of Lockheed Martin. They're not down a lot, and it's early in the trading day. And the last several days this company has traded, Lockheed Martin, the last several days they have traded, they have finished the day well off of their low, and spent some time in positive territory. So they're down a little tiny bit today, right now down $2.47. They could so easily finish back above 520 today that I'm not I'm not too anxious or nervous about it right now. We'll see what happens. Google is up a little bit right now. It was down all pre-market, but it's actually rallying on the back of everything else going. By the way, J.P. Morgan is now up $2.30, so they're up now half as much as they were down at their lowest point. And again, don't be shocked if JP Morgan is up over $340 a share before the end of the trading day today. They could so easily do that. Nvidia's up. I mentioned Micron. They're having a nice day to the upside. All in all, a good day for what we have going on. IBM is the reason, if you weren't watching this previously, IBM is the reason the Dow Jones Industrial Average is down. I've got this on a different screen, but if you were to look at the Dow components right now, you've got IBM down 25%. You've got Salesforce down 4%, and Microsoft down 2.5%. Nothing else is down more than 1 3/4, and more than half the Dow components are up, including Goldman Sachs that is up $45 a share, Caterpillar up $31 a share. So really, it's IBM and Salesforce that are really dragging on the Dow right now, and the only thing keeping the Dow from being positive, I think, are those two stocks. If those two stocks were flat, you'd see the Dow Jones Industrial Average up right now, and the Nasdaq not up nearly as much as it was pre-market, but it's early in the trading day. It could so easily jump way up and be up there. Even right now, Lockheed Martin is back to only being down $1.50, having been down $2.50 just a moment ago. So, all in all, good stuff going on. This good stuff is going on largely due to a CPI report that came out that I think was a shock to most people. It was to me. I'd be lying if I told you that I had expected that we would be a -0.4%. I didn't even realize, I should have looked at this yesterday. I didn't even realize that the consensus is that we would be down 0.1%. I didn't see that happening at all. So that alone was a surprise to me. But then the bigger surprise was the core coming in better than expected, year over year coming in better than expected. I mean, all in all, this is just there's no getting around the fact that this is a good report, and it was much needed. We were very much in need of this good report. It's going to at least temporarily quell the talk about rate hikes before the end of the year. A lot of people still think there will be at least one rate hike before the year is over, but you're going to hear that talk gradually subside as time goes on. So kind of keep an eye out for that. By the way, Lockheed Martin briefly went back above 120. It's back down 520. It's back down just below it right now. But watch for that one to potentially break out to the positive side today. And if you have an opportunity to get out of the trade, I would say get out of the trade. Like I said, I am going to look at possibly rolling it out, but I'm going to give it a little bit of time to see if it can go back above 520 and stay there. If it goes above 520 and stays there, even for a short period of time today, I think we can probably get out of that trade with a break even, if not some profit. So now let's shift gears to I did 3 adjustments last night to caller trades. We adjusted Palantir. We made a move to add some new long or roll our long puts out to get them well out past the earnings date and add some new short calls. We rolled everything straight out on Snap. We went from 7 strike price short calls to 7 strike price short calls, just rolled them out a month. We rolled our long puts out 1 month. It cost us a little bit of money to do that, unfortunately, but we just had to get out past the earnings report. We did the same thing with Uber. We basically left our strike prices exactly where they were and just rolled the trades themselves, or the options themselves out, in each case a month respectively. So Palantir was a little bit different because we added short calls that were not previously there, but with the Uber and the Snap trades, we simply rolled straight out. And then this morning, I sent out new trades for Google, or an adjustment to Google that would be the equivalent of the new trade. And I sent out new trades for Texas Instruments, Netflix, and AMD, or excuse me, TSM, Netflix, and Google. I have not had anything fill yet. TSM is very close. I've just watched the mid price go below my limit price a couple of times. It's going to be tricky to get filled on that one simply because tomorrow morning, or actually Thursday morning, about 2 a.m. is the earnings and the volatility is high. The mid is trading where my limit price is right now. So I'm crossing my fingers. I'm hopeful. Netflix, I've got my limit order set at 155. I think I sent out in the newsletter, I think I mentioned going to, what did I put as the limit order in that? Yeah, I put 155 as the limit order because 154 was the mid price. It's trading a little bit above that. I'll let you know as time goes on this morning if I decide to move my limit order up just a little bit. It would still be a good trade up as high as 160, but I would not go right to 160 to try and get in that Netflix trade. I would try for a little while to see if Netflix, jumping around a little bit would give you an opportunity to get in at 155, then maybe I would try 156, and then maybe I would try 157. I wouldn't jump right to 160, but I would consider going as high as 160 on the Netflix trade if you needed to do that. Netflix is down 68 cents a share. Um, and it's not too far away from where our limit order is right now. So be cautious with that one. Don't get too excited about don't get too excited about moving the limit price up on that one unless you kind of feel like that's the only way to get in. And then $1.60 is the maximum I would go to. Let's see. I think that's all I have for this morning. Google is actually up a little bit now. JP Morgan is up above 340 now, and Lockheed Martin was in positive territory up around 521. Right now they're at 520 and 59 cents. So get out of Lockheed if you have a chance to get out at break even or profit. I'd rather do that than roll it out and have an expiration past the earnings date. And then watch for your opportunity. I'm up about 5% right now. Well, I was up 5% on JP Morgan, then the option price has changed. I'm down 5%. It'll go back and forth a lot, but when you have a chance to get out of JP Morgan, 10, 12% profit, I'd probably take it. I think it'll continue to move up and stay above 340, but I think I'd grab that quick profit if I could get it at 10% or so. All right, I'm going to wrap up right there. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, everybody. We'll see you back here live tomorrow, and I'll be on Discord pretty active all day, updating you on anything I do different with limit orders or the trades we have on. Thanks. Bye-bye.